All right, the 2023 season is over, so we're getting ready for 2024, and the lines are already getting out for a couple of games. But the thing we're going to focus on here are the futures for the national championship in 2024. Um, Not necessarily surprisingly, Georgia is listed as the favorite or one the favorite. I'm probably using the wrong term there, but they are the most favored team, say, over anybody else over at FanDuel. Here's a you can take a look at it right now as we go. So 300 plus 350. So that means that Georgia is not quite double what Alabama is to win the national championship, but they are double everybody else. Ohio State, Texas, Michigan plus 1,000. Michigan plus 1,000. That is a total sucker bet. I'm going to tell you that right now. There's so much upheaval. There's so much going on. That is a pure sucker bet. So I would be very wary of taking them. But yeah, I mean, I think that this really does make a lot of sense to me, at least, that they would be plus 350. Now, one thing to consider, I took a screenshot a season ago, and I'll put up there what Georgia was heading into this season right after this game. There it is right there. I'm not doing a great job of centering it. There we go. So Georgia was plus 375, and then Alabama was plus 550. This is where we're back to the future. It's the same exact thing. So Georgia was plus 375. Bama was plus 550, which is what they're at right now. So Georgia's odds are slightly better than they were. Ohio State's are worse. USC was at plus 1,000, sucker bet. Michigan and LSU were both at plus 1,400. So there are a few more teams that have some odds. LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State, they're all above plus 1,500. Penn State ain't winning a national championship. So, they're at plus 2,500 along with Notre Dame. A&M and Clemson are both at 3,300. And then it just kind of, it really, you're at 4,000 for Mizzou, SC, Oklahoma, Tennessee. UW is at 6,000. The thing about last night with Michigan and Washington, this was their chance. I mean, Michigan took advantage of it. This was their chance. Washington's not winning the national championship anytime soon. Not with a 12-team playoff, y'all. These teams that are not pure power teams, they're not going to win it. It's not going to be there. And that's kind of that's what would be so frustrating for me if I were, a Washington fan this morning is, that was our best shot. And that's why I think you saw a lot of Florida State fans really aggravated because, that was a great shot for Florida State. And it just kind of went away. Their shot changed, and because of an injury and everybody opting out. I guess because of one injury. If one injury is dictating your national championship, even if it's your quarterback, maybe you're not as good as you think. Maybe you're too predicated on one player, Michael Penix, right? So when he started getting banged up last night, UW just wasn't. Washington was not as good as Michigan, period. I'm not saying they shouldn't have been in the playoff, but they probably were not one of the best four teams, as it turns out. And that league out there, not great. Not great. A lot of discussion of Colorado at the beginning of the season. They turned out to do nothing. So, I look forward to an expanded playoff, not because of the 12, but because of you're going to at least get more than, one SEC team into it. It should be that there were two this year. I'm not going to stop saying that. It's accurate. But anyway, so all of this means Georgia's got around a 20-ish% chance to win the national championship next year. Now, I don't know. So that doesn't mean they're favored. That means they are the leading favorite. Alabama's sitting around, let's just see here, about 15%, which is probably about right considering how they nearly got to the championship game this year. And I think they beat Washington if they somehow get around Michigan. But Georgia's definitely the betting favorite to win the thing. It's only the second time that this has happened going into a season, and we'll see how this goes. But we already know that Carson Beck is coming back. We already know, you've got a lot returning. You've got the addition of Travis Etienne. I think that will help a lot, frankly, in the run game. Can you get some explosion in in the run game at Georgia. That will matter a lot. There's all sorts of things that, Georgia can become better at over time this season with the addition of transfer portal guys. All right, our Eco Poly spotlight here is the Villa Chair bar height in red and black. I don't think you could really do this for Michigan, but then again, why would you want to? You actually can, amazingly. I think I really don't like that look. I like this look better. But completely recycled plastics, 20-year warranty. It's made in the heart of Georgia. This is something you're going to want to take advantage of. These are outstanding products from our friends at EcoPoly. The link's down below. Make sure you're checking it out. Get your beach house. I hope y'all are surviving this weather. Is bad right now, so make sure you're being safe. But I think Georgia. I don't know if Georgia will win the national championship in 24. They should have won it in 23, and that's up to Kirby and Dell and Todd Hartley and Mike Bobo and Glenn Schumann. It's up to them to get that right. It's not up to us. It's up to them to do it. They should have won it this year. They didn't. And it's an opportunity that you only get so many of these. Now, was it wrong to have them passed over in the top 4? It was wrong. But when you give a committee of 13 people the ability to mess something up, they're gonna do that a lot. The notion that they got it correct, they clearly did not, but that's okay. It's what it is. And if you're Georgia, you have to understand that any excuse to leave an SEC team out will be done. Any excuse to put one in as well, frankly. This was just circumstantial. They lost the wrong game. They lost the wrong game, but that should not have been the game that punished them. You look at Texas. Texas won the Big 12. So what? That's not like winning that's not like winning the SEC. Michigan won the Big 10. So what? That's not like winning the SEC. Florida State won the ACC with the team that they had when they played Georgia, with the exception of the quarterback, basically. Or whatever. Whatever you Nole fans want to get triggered by, and then they lost by 60. So let's say those guys are back and they lose by 40. I mean, I don't know. What difference do those guys make? I mean, they're getting killed. And that's, now everybody's got their hands up about Florida State missing the thing. No, but moving forward, you look at this team. I mean, they're going to return 4 or 5 starters on the offensive line. That matters. Tight end, you're not going to be as good. Wide receiver, you're probably not going to be as good, but the drop-off won't be the same as it was during tight end. But Georgia was never healthy in 23. You want to know why they didn't totally win it? They needed all their horses in the stable, and it was asking a lot at that point. But if they can stay healthy, they had the depth this year, but you want your top end to be healthy. You're looking at a really good team. Not all time, no. But as Michigan just proved, you don't have to be all time to win the national championship, because I can assure you that's not an all-time national champion right there. Not at all. And I'm not talking about the cheating. I'm talking about everything else. You return Nazir, you're going to have the strength of this Georgia team is going to be its offensive line. And that is for the returning people. That is not even discussing what they just signed, which is probably as good as they've signed on the offensive line in some time. I think they have the best returning quarterback in college football, probably with the best offensive line, and it doesn't matter what the Joe Moore Award is. We've seen that doesn't matter at all. I mean, Georgia, what they did to Michigan's offensive line in 21, that was not right. But it was what happened. Are we sure that they were the best offensive line when they were getting destroyed the way they were? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can really say that. And then I think UW won it, and they were getting eaten up last night. And still had a chance to win that game. That's what's so stupid. And that's why you got to compete, right? When you're there, you got to compete. And when you have your chance and when you have your moment, you got to go do it. And I think, Michigan, this will go down as It could go down as an LSU 19 situation. Obviously, they're not as good as that team was, but you could see a situation where nobody. I mean, is it flash in the pan? I don't think it's quite like that because they got to the playoff the 2 years before that. Now they lost. They got destroyed by Georgia and they lost a game to TCU that they shouldn't have lost, but they did. And that's not the same as LSU. I mean, LSU played in a New Year's Six and won that game, and then they won the national championship at like a steamroller. So I don't think those are the same thing. But moving forward, I totally get why Georgia's the number one favorite to win this thing. And, they're better than Alabama is. The problem is, they're better than Alabama this year, and they lost. So the problem for them is, A, you're going to go on the road to Alabama, or you're going to win that game. If you win that game, you're in the playoff. Just ask Texas, right? If you win that, I wonder how many regular season teams lately have beaten Alabama and not gotten to the playoff. LSU didn't. Texas A&M, whenever they did, it's not quite as special. But boy, we acted like it was this year, and it wasn't. It just wasn't. But anyway, Texas, Alabama on the road, you're going to need to win one of those games, and I think it's totally plausible they win both. But this is a brutal schedule. 12 games in this league, and you've got Clemson and Tech. I don't know what kind of Georgia Tech we're going to be talking about. If they continue to improve the way they were, then yeah, they could trip Georgia up in Athens. Now I am skeptical that will happen, but they could. And then you open the season with a 9-4 Clemson team that's going to be ranked top 15, something like that. I don't know. Maybe top 10. Maybe top 10. That is a good question, actually, because I don't know. They don't have the equity that they used to have from college football world, and nor should they. But I'll be curious to see what happens there. But Georgia, the betting favorite. What do you think?